It all started on a peaceful weekend. Lon and I had a busy week with work and family, but finally had a short break. We decided to go out for dinner at a new restaurant in town. Lon was very well prepared, wearing a beautiful dress, and her face always exuded confidence, which made me feel extremely proud to be next to her. However, something unexpected happened when we entered the restaurant. As we were looking for a seat, I suddenly saw a man standing at the end of the room, right at the bar. He looked at me for a long time, then his eyes turned to Lon, his eyes filled with surprise and even happiness. I recognized immediately, it was Lan's ex-lover, someone I had heard her mention in the past. My first feeling when I saw him was surprise, then disbelief. Why was he here? Why did he and Lon meet at such a strange restaurant? Lon seemed to recognize him too, and I saw a clear change in her. An awkwardness and anxiety appeared on her face immediately. She stirred slightly, but then tried to keep her composure. "Are you okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Lon turned to look at me, then shook her head gently. "That's my ex," she admitted, her voice trembling. "She had a life before she met you," Lon added, then turned to her ex, "Lam, you can't bother me anymore." Lam walked closer to us, smiling pleasantly, but I couldn't help but notice the tension in his actions. He was definitely not a stranger in Lan's life. And when I looked into her eyes, I saw the uncertainty, the flashbacks of the past that she didn't want me to know. But one thing was certain, what happened today would not end so easily. We sat down at the table and started dinner, but the atmosphere in the room became tense and heavy. Lam sat across from us, not seeming shy or embarrassed at all. He easily chatted with Lon, as if there was no distance between them. I could feel Lan's comfort in talking to him, and a part of me couldn't help but feel jealous. During the meal, I couldn't help but notice that Lan's eyes occasionally turned to Lam. Even though she tried to hide it, I could still see the softness in her gestures when he spoke. It made me feel uneasy, as if a part of Lon still couldn't completely let go of the old relationship. The feeling inside me at that moment was hard to describe. I didn't want to appear jealous or suspicious, but I couldn't stop thinking about Lon and Lam's past. Was there something between them that I didn't know about? Does she still have feelings that she can't hide? After the meal, Lon said she wanted to go for a walk. I felt nervous, but I didn't want to stop her. We walked around the neighborhood together, but my mind still couldn't escape Lam's shadow and the unanswered questions. The story of the past, the moments that I couldn't understand, seemed to be coming back to haunt us. "Do you remember the day we met?" Lon asked me, her eyes looking far away, as if she wanted to change the subject. But I couldn't forget that look when she looked at Lam. It seemed to bring strange emotions that I couldn't explain. "I remember," I replied, but my heart was still heavy. "But do you remember him?" Lon stopped and looked at me, then said softly, "Lam is a part of the past, he is nothing to me anymore." I nodded, but there was a part of me that couldn't quite believe those words. Was I doubting too much, or was there some truth that I couldn't see? Was Lon still holding some part of her feelings for Lam that I couldn't quite understand? As we continued walking around the neighborhood, the air became quiet. Lon and I said nothing more, each lost in our own thoughts. Even though she said nothing, I could sense her unease. The fleeting look at Lam still lingered in her eyes. And though I tried to act calm, my heart was filled with unanswered questions. "You don't need to worry about him," Lon said, as if reading my mind. She turned to look at me with a small smile, but I didn't see confidence in it. "He's just a part of the past. I've left that past behind." But I couldn't shake the strange feeling in my heart. As much as I wanted to believe her, part of me couldn't accept that everything between them was just the past. The sad glances, the intimate and gentle words between them at the restaurant, all of those things made me wonder, is she hiding something? I didn't want to strain the relationship further, but the truth still weighed heavily on my heart. Finally, I decided to say what I felt. Lon, can you tell me what really happened between you and Lamb? I can't live with this suspicion forever. Lon paused, sighed. She looked at me, her eyes slightly worried and evasive. You don't need to worry about him, she repeated, but I could see that the firmness in her words was starting to waver. I love you, and I've forgotten everything about Lamb a long time ago. I couldn't hold back my frustration anymore. Then why did you have to meet him today? Why did he appear in our lives again? I couldn't hold back the anger in my heart, and it burst out in words. You can't love him and still be here with me. He's still in your life, and I can't help but think that there's something else you're hiding. Lon looked at me, then lowered her head. I don't want to hurt you. But the truth is, Lamb, he's always been someone I can't forget. Even though I love you, I can't completely forget what he did to me. Those words were like a broken mirror, reflecting the deep cracks in our relationship that I didn't know about. I stood there, unable to comprehend what I had just heard. She loves me, but can't forget her ex. That sentence made me feel like I was no longer important enough in her life. What does that mean? We're just a replacement? I asked, my voice trembling. Is he still so important that you can't completely erase him from your heart? Lon turned to look at me, her eyes filled with regret. It's not like that, brother. I love you, and I want to stay with you. But sometimes, past memories can't be erased immediately. Lamb was the first person I loved, and what we had together will never be the same as what I had with him. Those words made me feel suffocated. I stood there, feeling like a person left behind in a storm. I couldn't bear this fact, that Lon still had feelings for Lamb, the ex she still held in her heart. Maybe my love for her wasn't strong enough to erase the traces of the past that she couldn't let go of. The next few moments were a long silence. We both stood there, saying nothing, only the gentle wind blowing. I felt like I was standing at a crossroads, not knowing which way to go. I loved Lon, but the truth was, I couldn't live in a relationship where her loyalty was uncertain. I couldn't live in a love where she couldn't completely give it to me. Finally, I sighed and said, you need time, Lon. I can't live in this doubt forever. I need time to think about everything. Lon was silent, just nodding. Even though she wanted to make amends, perhaps it was time for me to face reality. Love isn't always perfect. Sometimes, no matter how much we love each other, the truths that can't be hidden will gradually come out. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy feeling in my heart. The love I had for Lon was still there, but what she had just admitted made me unable to ignore it. The feeling of betrayal, though mild, made me feel alienated from myself. I couldn't help but think about what Lon had said, about her ex-lover, about the relationship that I had thought was completely over. Would I have the strength to forgive her, to continue this life next to someone who still carried a past that I couldn't let go of? In the following days, we lived in silence. Everything between us seemed to stop at the level of feelings that couldn't be expressed in words. Lon tried everything to comfort me, to prove that she loved me and wanted to preserve this relationship. But the truth was, no matter how hard she tried, I couldn't erase the images of Lamb, my ex-lover, from my mind. We both started avoiding each other. Lon went to work, I went to work, and when we came home, we often lived in silence. Everything seemed to be slowly falling into nothingness, like a relationship that had been eroded by time. I felt the distance between us growing, not because the love had ended, but because there were too many things left unsaid, too many wounds left unhealed. One evening, as we were sitting next to each other, Lon suddenly spoke, breaking the long silence. Can you forgive me? That question made me stunned, feeling as if the whole space around me stopped. Those words were like an opening for everything I had been avoiding. How could I answer that question? How could I make a decision when I still didn't know what I really wanted? "I want you to forgive me," she said, her voice soft but full of sobs. "I want us to start over, without the shadow of the past. I love you, and I know I was wrong. But I still hope you will give me a chance." I couldn't look at her without feeling pain. The truth was, I still loved Lon, but that love was no longer intact. It was cracked by doubts, emotions that could not be erased. I looked into her eyes filled with regret and worry. "I don't know," I replied, my voice low. "I need time. You hurt me so much." Lon said nothing, just sat there, her hands clenched, as if waiting for an answer she knew she could not control. After a while, she stood up, walked out onto the balcony, leaving me in the quiet room. I sat there, filled with mixed emotions. I loved her, but I didn't know if I could continue living in a relationship without complete trust. The hurt is too great, and I don't know if I can get over it. The next day, I decided I couldn't go on living in doubt. Even though I loved Lon, even though I wanted to believe what she said, I couldn't live in a relationship I couldn't fully trust. The wounds were too deep, and even though I tried to forgive, I realized that trust was something that couldn't be easily restored. We sat together that evening, in our usual silence, but this time without the questions and the insincere words. "Lon," I began, my voice more determined than ever. "I can't go on living like this. I still love you, but I can't live in this doubt. We can't continue to live in a relationship where neither of us is truly happy. I think it's time for us to stop." Lon looked at me, her eyes full of regret and pain, but there was no resistance. "You were right," she said, her voice choking. "I was wrong, and I will live with this regret for the rest of my life. But I understand that if we continue like this, neither of us will be able to find happiness." We sat there, no more tears or promises. Lon and I had come a long way, and now, we could only let go of each other. Not because we no longer loved each other, but because we no longer had the strength to maintain this relationship. After Lon left, I felt a strange sense of relief. Even though it was not the ending I wanted, I knew it was the right decision. I could not live in a relationship where doubt and hurt prevailed. I needed time to heal myself, to find myself again and understand that sometimes, letting go is not a failure, but the courage to seek true happiness. Lon left, but I understood that sometimes endings are necessary for us to find freedom. We loved each other, had beautiful memories, but our relationship could not overcome the challenges. And I knew that one day, I would find peace and happiness, even if not with her. This story ends with the main character's maturity and strong decision. Even though there has been love and beautiful memories, sometimes truth and trust cannot be easily mended, and letting go is a necessary decision to find true happiness again.